What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Alpha Street Podcast in a new and improved studio out here in LA, interviewing someone who might be one of the biggest founders of what has changed the entire course of America today. And I don't even want to get too dramatic with it, but it's true. When you hear this guy's story, this guy was one of the founders or one of the pinnacle points behind MySpace. Now, if you're too young to listen to this, that's fine. You don't know what MySpace is. It was basically Facebook before Facebook was, okay? And that was what I believe led to social media. I think we talked about Facebook as if that's the first, but really, truly, it was MySpace. And actually, there's quite a few things that this man has accomplished here today, but I don't want to give too much of it away. I'm going to let him tell you himself. Like I ask every guest, we're going to dive right into what made this dude such a badass dude. Ted, thanks for coming on, brother.
Thanks for having me, Jeremiah.
So listen, man, I go into your story, right? And the thing is, I used to read off my guest bios because I read off and there's all like this list of accomplishments, but then I feel like I butcher it, right? Because I want to hear it from the horse's mouth. I want to hear from your mouth. How the fuck did you get to this point, right? I mean, you're 27 years old. No, I'm just kidding. He looks like he's 27, but he's not. You're at this point in your life where you have, and truly, I believe MySpace and what you accomplished there has changed the world. I mean, I don't think people talk about that enough. That was the foundation of social media. And I want to hear your thoughts on that. But first and foremost, what's your story? How the hell did you get to this point in your life doing all this shit? We're going to talk about your other business as well, but like, what led you here to this point, man?
Sure. I mean, I think that's really interesting, but I'm just really curious about your hair, man. I love, like, you can talk about your hair.
You can grab it if you want.
I need to talk about your hair the whole time. It's really awesome.
It's glorious.
Yeah, I love it.
It is my favorite haircut I've ever had.
Yeah, it's so good, man.
I'll give you some.
Yeah, okay, let's go. So what brought me, it's really simple, so at a really young age, my father drilled this into me, and a lot of everything that I've done is really attributed to stuff that's been drilled into my head as a kid,
right.
It's like, you got to be careful of who you're around. This started with that way because you will become them.
Yeah.
And then it evolved with be careful of who you're not around because you really want to be them, and it's I figured out how to replicate things at a very early age based on people around me and people who I can access. And hey, these guys have done this stuff. Let's figure out how to get access to them and add value to their lives so they can show me how to do what they've already done. It's just classic, and I do this all the time. I do this every day. Someone's talking about a new business that they're starting. Hey, let me put you in, let me connect you with these guys. I don't know them, but I'll get to them.
Yeah.
And they'll show you how to do what you need to do, and that's kind of how it works. It's beyond just me. It's people around me.
Yeah.
So my story is, you might have seen me in the film Slumdog Millionaire. But you're too young to know what that is.
No, I know what that one is. I know that one.
Are you lying to kick it?
No.
Okay,
No, I'll write the C here on the.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was born in India, but I didn't really spend much time there. I grew up in San Francisco, and I spent most of my adolescent years there. And in 2023 years ago, I moved to LA. And it was for a startup. I was in part of the whole .com boom in the mid 90s.
Right.
And
See, I'm just going to tell you, that's what's so funny is when I say because we were joking like about your age, because straight up, like my wife says you look like your 20s. I would have guessed like somewhere in 30s. You're talking to me about like you're in the 90s boom, and like that's when I was born.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Yeah. I was trying to emphasize that.
That's right.
The 90s, you're like, I wasn't even born.
Wasn't even there. Yeah.
I wasn't even there yet.
Right.
But it was
Okay, keep going.
a concept, probably, your parents conceptualized.
Yes.
So
when you had concept your business,
right,
it was the
yeah. So, and so around that time, I worked I was in Silicon Valley, so I was in college, and I was going to school while I was working. So I was working for these startups, and at the time we didn't know what the fuck they were. They're like these tech companies. What is that? What really is it? And just started working for them, and I was doing sales and stuff like that, and it just started growing really fast because that whole world exploded. I kind of grew with it really fast too, and got a lot of experience pretty quickly, and then just started to, evolve and start businesses within the companies, and so responsible for business units and things like that.
Yeah.
And then I was adopted by certain people, like mentors. I wanted to learn how to do certain things. I wanted to get in other places, and I was around people that were smarter than me, and then so I realized that I just always want to be around people that are smarter than me. I want to be the smallest guy in the room all the time, you know? And so that promotes growth, right? I start learning. And so my story really is just, I was always the smallest guy in the room. And I learned really early how to do that, you know, and how to be attractive to the people that were bigger than me, you know, like, hey, why is this guy around us? He's smaller than us, but hey, you know what? He's adding a lot of value because I'm always connecting people, really good and smart people. So I came to LA for a startup. It was called lowermybills.com. Lowermybills.com's job was to, at the time, it was a consumer lead gen company. Consumers would go on the site, try to lower their bills. Hey, long distance. At the time, it was like long distance. You have no idea what that is.
Nope.
But it was like long distance calling, internet, you know, things like that, lower my credit card bills and stuff like that. So I came along. I started a business in San Francisco for a competitor of theirs to go after a company called Lending Tree. Everyone's heard of Lending Tree. You go on Lending Tree and you fill out a form and lenders compete and you're supposed to get a better rate, right? For your mortgages. So I figured, hey, let's start that business here. And so we did. We started that business and the company, you know, crushed it. It blew up. And eventually we sold the company to Experian a couple of years later. So it was really nice. And then I didn't want to work for a while because I felt like sales and business development was consuming my soul. You know, like every salesperson goes through that. It's like, hey, this is like, what am I selling? I'm selling leads.
Yeah.
It's not really helping the world or changing the world. From that perspective at that time, I thought it was like my soul was sucked out of me. Yeah. So I wanted to quit sales. So then Tom was a good friend of mine, said, hey, let's go. Let's do parties. So anyways, so it came after MySpace came after. MySpace was Tom's idea and baby, and he developed the whole thing. He's not a developer, he's a product guy, but the whole concept. And kind of went after, there was, not a lot of people know this, but the first social network was a company called Friendster. And
that's different than Napster, right?
Different. Friendster was a social network. It was kind of like MySpace, but it was super early and very restrictive. Yeah. So went after Friendster and said, hey, let's make it a little more more loose and less conservative. And hey, by the way, dating sites are taboo at the time. Yeah. So let's make this like more, you know, like more mainstream. MySpace was pretty much a dating site, you know what I mean? But it was like, let's make it more mainstream. Yeah. Acceptable. Let's call it it's a social network. People are becoming friends. There's a lot of stuff going on, music, all kinds of things, you know? And so that's basically the idea. And so it started to grow from there. We're doing launch events all around the world. And, you know, it was a lot of fun. It's crazy. We're doing exclusive content deals with guys like Pharrell and every record label and movie studio on the planet. And, you know, it was a lot of fun. And during that era, we were friends with all these guys like Tommy Lee and everyone. And they're just all our buddies. They're always around us, you know. So it was great. It was exciting. It was a lot of fun. And then we sold it and then to News Corp. And then right after that, there was a problem that needed to be solved for MySpace around the time that our earnout was ending. The earnouts ended in 2008. 2009, I left and started in a company to service MySpace and solve problems that MySpace had. It had too many ads that were going under monetized. So I started this ad tech company and MySpace was the first customer. And we had, by the end of the year, almost 1,000 customers. So crushed it, grew it, several $100 million in revenue before we took it public on an IPO, ran it for 6 years public, got tired of the whole public thing. And then I fully exited. And so I've got a bunch of other stuff going on right now too. But all of these ideas, like taking a company public, like how many people have done that? It's not a lot. Right. Dan has. So Dan Flashman.
Yeah. Shout out to Dan. Yeah.
He was like the youngest guy to ever do it.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. So I've done it twice. And it is purely because of the people I was around. Where did those ideas come from? It's kind of like a crazy concept. It's like, hey, let's take a company public. Wait, what do you do? Like, what's the first step? Yeah. Second step, what do you do? Well, the guys that are around you that have done it are the ones that'll help you figure it out really fast, and that's exactly what happened. So I had these guys around me. One of these guys, Robbie Lee, he did the biggest dry cleaning roll up in history. So he took mom and pop dry cleaning companies or shops and aggregated thousands of them with private equity, meaning no public cash. I mean, not a public vehicle. It was no cash. He was buying all these companies, stores with a dream, selling them a dream, saying, hey, he was basically giving them private paper, meaning equity in a private company that wasn't trading. Say, hey, we're going to get you shares in this public company that may eventually go public. So he's buying these dry cleaners. Like, it was the craziest thing with zero cash. And these things were like, several $100,000, $1 million a piece. There were a lot, dry cleaning operations. And he aggregated thousands of them, and he took the whole thing public. And it was the biggest dry cleaning roll up in history. It was called U.S. Dry Cleaners. It was really big. Anyways, this guy was a friend of mine. He was around me, and this guy's a 900-pound gorilla. He was huge.
Yeah.
And how did I become close to him? So I had to figure out how to add value in his life, and he helped me figure it out. So it's always been about getting access to people that have done what you want to do, and being really careful about who you're around, because that could change the trajectory of your life, and it could let you break through, or it could break you.
Yeah.
So that's the case.
Well, how do you gauge that? No, so because the reason I asked that is, in my journey, I've recently especially been around a lot of big names, right? And as I've gone around these big names, there are people who I've looked up to, right? People who I've been watching for quite a while. Some of them turned out to be better than I thought. Some of them turned out to be kind of what I thought. And then there's others I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, I had no idea.
Sure.
That's how that person was. And it's how do you roll back the red tape? What's your process for that, and rolling back the red tape of just like understanding, is this someone I could trust? Because just because someone has accomplished things doesn't necessarily mean there's someone you should trust, right? Or how have you navigated that?
Yeah, for me, it's like, I have this like inherent talent. I only have one talent. Like, I'm not talented. Can't play a musical instrument.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to. My parents didn't let me. They said I had to do math. Indian, I couldn't play sports. They wouldn't let me. I got to do math,
Right. Naturally. Yeah.
It's weird,
It makes sense.
Yeah. So I have one talent was math, and this other thing, which is like, hey, like I failed to mention that I did move around a lot as a kid. I grew up most of my adolescent years in San Francisco, but my dad was an engineer, and during the 80s oil crisis, we had to move a lot for him because you need to find a job. And so I went to like 12, 13 different schools before I hit 12th grade.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was kind of crazy. So I inherited this, I adopted this trait of like figuring people out pretty quickly, right? So like I kind of have a lot of experience with character, understanding people's character pretty quickly. So that kind of stuff, right? But some qualifying criteria generally for me is like, how are these people behaving?
Yeah.
Couple things, I have a group of like 45 guys in this dinner club. We do a dinner at Craig's here in LA every Thursday. We've been doing it for 3 years, and there's 12 guys at the table. And every week we're rotating, between the 45 guys. And I've qualified all these guys. I've invited them, personally vetted them all out, and they all have a couple things in common. One, they're not arrogant. That's a big thing, right? There's no egos. These guys are all just happy, coachable, like happy to learn. They want to feel like they're the smallest guys in the room too. So that's a characteristic that I look for in people generally when I want to associate with them, because a lot of people that you find are like successful and have grown pretty fast are like generally, and they're learning still, they're pretty coachable, pretty malleable. Right. And with that comes no insecurity, right? The insecurity, without the insecurity, you have confidence. And so these people are confident, but not arrogant, So those things, those are really key. I can't be around arrogant people.
Yeah, right. Well, dude, we use like, this is something I talk about actually in my book, but like I've talked about this for years. If I were to nail down, I used to say the 2 C's, but now I've added the third, because there's no way to leave it out. The 3 C's of success. If you show me a human being who has these 3 things, they'll succeed no matter what it is, right? And it's confidence, courage, and coachability.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you got confidence, I can work with you, man, right? Because I just need you to at least believe in yourself enough. Because like, if 7 billion people on the planet believed in you and you didn't believe in you, it doesn't matter, right? But if you believe in you,
absolutely,
and 7 billion people on the planet don't, guess what? The odds are still in your favor. Yeah. Somehow the scales still tip in your favor, right? That's the kind of power. And they talk about the courage to take action, take risk, but really, at the end of the day, to combine all that to still be coachable.
Yeah.
Right. To like seek after that. Right.
That's critical.
Yeah. I mean, so dude, I love it. Cause you're just saying this. I'm like, I wrote about that.
Yeah. And I'm probably one of the most coachable people you'll meet. I don't know shit, man. Really. I'm happy to say that. I know some things about some things, but there are people out there that know more about every single thing I know. 100%. I'm happy to meet them. And I can't wait, So that's the idea. Like we've accomplished things, but in proportion to what, or in relation to what, right? like, if you look at it from that perspective, where are we? You know, like, are we like on some sort of a timeline, or is there a ranking or something like that? I don't know. You know, I'm not sure. But if there was, there's no reason for any of us to be arrogant, you know, because none of us that we know are, you know, like, you know, unless you're Elon Musk, maybe. Right. Yeah, I don't know.
Then
but it's different too, right? He's also coachable still. So
he is. I mean, something that is actually crazy is from what I've understood about Elon, is that dude is learning every single day.
Absolutely.
That's why he's been able to pick up, you know, you know, like what do you call it? Like NASA Aero. See, now I'm so I can't even describe what the fucker does, right?
Yes.
Or you know, like or like social media. You know, you name it. He's dove into it and had success in all of it.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm curious because I'm listening to you talk, right? And I feel like we could go talk about the business path a lot, but what you're talking about is deeper than business, right? What you're talking about is deeper than that, and that's actually more of a spiritual level of things, right?
Absolutely.
And you know, you can talk to some people and they're just strictly business, right? You know, the way it's X's and O's, it's numbers, it's understanding, you know, people, if they don't fit the mold, then it's, you know, fired, right? And you know, that's still, you can have success in business that way, but what you're talking about is almost a different thing. I would equate it to almost like energy and working with, you know, who you overall have become through your coaching, and really understanding that you don't know a whole lot in the big scheme of things, is that there's so much to learn.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, based on what you're telling me with your newest business coming up, that seems to be a deep part of who you are and what's made you this way.
Yeah. So when you get through these phases and projects and relationships and friendships and all this stuff through, you know, experience, and you get to a certain point in your life, you start realizing that all these consistencies are there, and the fundamental stuff is always going to stay the same. And so from my perspective, there's been a lot of change in the last 6-7 years for me. I was driven by, and I'm Indian, so my upbringing was really just focused on whatever you do, starting from school, you have to focus on making money. You know, we're Indian, you know, like, so my parents drilled it in me. I mean, it's good. I had a great, you know, childhood, and my parents raised me right, and I got my ass kicked, which is important.
That's very important. Yes. I endorse that.
Right. To a certain extent. So, you know, I think for me, my drive was entirely related to business for a long time, you know, so everything I did, my mood would be affected by, you know, how well I was doing. And I'm a risk-taking CEO. I'm like the highest risk-taking CEO a lot of people have met. You know, I take the craziest risk, and I calculate downside, and I just roll, you know, and I don't take a long time to make any decisions. I just make the decision, I roll, right? That's it. So my drive is always business. So I watched myself transform over different eras, you know, when the business was doing well, the business not doing well, you know, and so when business not doing well, I would physically transform. I'd transform into this character, or this person that, you know, I didn't like, you know, and it was like, I would put on weight. I would, you know, like, I'd retain water. I'd have inflammation in my body. I'd not work out. I would eat like shit. I would, you know, I'd be super stressed out in a corner in fight or flight, you know, and this happened because my definition of my character was entirely attributed to my, you know, how well I'm doing in business. Yeah, so that had to change, right? So over the last 6-7 years, I realized it, and it took some time, and I realized what was most important to me and what defined my character truly, and it was never business. Business is just, you know, business is business, you know, it's in and out, whatever you do well, you do not, doesn't define you. It doesn't change who you are, you know? So I realized what was most important to me. It was my family, my friendships, and not just basically, hey, you're my friend. It's really cultivating these relationships, having deep relationships and friendships, and finding new friends, right? And I don't have any surface level acquaintances. All my people that I'm usually interacting with are my close friends, you know, and I make people like really, you know, I have depth in friendship with these people. So that was really important to me. And then the thing that I felt was like most important to me was health and wellness, right? So what I realized was I need to compartmentalize my life in a way that I have daily wins in all these compartments. And that would offset, you know, like, hey, if I have a bad day in business or bad year, whatever it is, you know, I'm still winning every day. Like, I'm crushing in fitness. I'll outlift you and anybody you know. Like, I had like a 150s in the flat press dumbbells. You know, it's pretty crazy. You know, I don't know what you lift. I'm just saying that, but based on the mullet, I think you lift a lot. So
What does it? Yeah.
right. So, like I'm crushing and I'm winning, I got to like 7% body fat last year, and, I put on a little bit of weight since then, but yeah, I'm probably still around 10, 11%, but I'm winning every day in that area. And not just working out, but, the stuff I eat, I was fasting 23 hours a day. I did that for 3 years. I don't drink alcohol. The only caffeine I have is matcha once in a blue moon. That's about it. I don't have coffee. And I'm really, I watch what I eat. I'm gluten-free, all this stuff,
Oh.
and I'm carnivore, so
Hell yeah.
I'm winning, I feel really good.
That's rare in LA. They don't believe in that around here.
LA, I got a lot of this blue, weird shit.
Right.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah. But, it's made a huge difference in my life. I'm, a true testament to it, like I changed years ago, my diet, and I feel fantastic. I'm 47.
Yeah.
Most people don't believe it,
Yeah, right.
It comes with like all this stuff. Anyways.
Yeah, you're a pure liar.
So I've had to, change my lifestyle, realize what's most important to me, spend the most time doing that stuff. And by the way, all this other shit, like that I was really thinking was the most important, it fixes itself. Because, when you feel good and you're winning every day, you make great decisions. You make better decisions. And by the way, besides the decisions, you're attracting people that are winning.
Yeah.
Winners want to be around winners, right?
Right.
And you're attracting people that are good and that are winning. They want that energy, and you're winning. And so, it's fantastic. So you're attracting winners. So your circle's getting better and you have good energy and all that stuff. So it's a pretty big change. Now, a few things that really helped me out a lot. So I just stopped drinking like 3 years ago. I never had much alcohol in my life. I've got this weird thing where if I have 1 or 2 drinks, I get migraines, the next day. So that was lucky for me, and never really drank. But, I was fasting 23 hours a day, and I was working out like crazy and all this other stuff. And then I was drinking, like 1 or 2 drinks, every time I'd go out or something like that, which is still like, poison, right? So I cut that out. Around the same time, I discovered microdosing, So one of my friends in the tech world, he was like, he sold the company to Facebook. He built another $4 billion company in a matter of 3 years. I mean, the guy's a powerhouse, right? He tells me one day, he's like, hey, all of the success that I've had over the last 5-6 years has been attributed to mushrooms, psilocybin.
So he says that if you're attributed to one thing, he says is that.
Yeah, it's that.
Wow.
Yeah. And so this guy, and I said, what are you out of your mind? Like, what do you say? But I can't say that because the guy's crushing,
He's full of shiitake.
It's crazy. It's insane. So like basically he had to he had to deal with a lot of stuff internally. And then he basically told me that all his new ideas come from these, mushroom journeys. They're called journeys, right? And so, anyways, I couldn't do the journeys and stuff. So I wouldn't do it. I said, it's not for me. I don't do any drugs. I never was into drugs. I didn't even smoke weed, nothing, Right. And so he got me, sent me some stuff to read and kept sending me things to read, the science, the studies, these double-blind placebo-controlled studies about the benefits of psilocybin, in your brain, the new neural network connections and neurogenesis, like all this stuff in your brain that you benefit from with psilocybin. So anyways, I read this stuff and I'm like, wow, this is insane. And depression, right? So, hey, all of us entrepreneurs are mildly depressed, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Right, we are, because the risks and, all that stuff, right?
It's hard to live with.
It's fantastic. Let me try it. So then I tried microdosing. And I tried a bunch of different brands, and, this is kind of like my journey through it, like over 3 years. And I said, hey, these guys, okay, this is great. This is good stuff, but then at the same time, and it really changed my mood. I was always cheerful and happy and, just good energy and making better decisions and all that stuff around that time. And I discovered, I said, hey, you know what? There's a lot of inconsistency in all these products that I was trying, it was just weird, like what's going on? Like, why do you not feel the same every time? It's really strange. So I started asking questions. I got close to the founders of these companies. Like I met all of them.
Yeah.
And I asked them, I say, hey, what are you doing? They said, well, I said, why is it inconsistent? And they told me this, well, because the strains of mushrooms are different. I'm like, why are you using different strains every time? They said, oh, because we get different deals on them. I said, this isn't terrible.
Wow.
This isn't.
Yeah.
So that led me to like, hey, let me reverse engineer this whole thing and figure out how to make a better product, Right. And so I did. So we made a better product, very strain specific, and it is predictable. The outcome is predictable every time, essentially. So it's that's kind of like, it was a passion project for me. So that's kind of, we came with Asante.
That's what's called Asante.
Asante is a 5 or 6 year old brand. It was a biodynamic supplement brand. So we had all kinds of really cool products like anti-inflammation, cognitive product, weight loss product, things like that. And then we added a CBD line as well. So we have CBD for like even pets and even stuff like bath bombs with CBD in them and stuff like that. So it's been doing really well for a long time. And then we just added the psilocybin product to that as well.
Yeah.
So under the same brand.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So, okay. So let's talk about, so have you ever had, and this might be a sacred question that you tell me not to go into, have you ever had a journey? Like, cause you talk about microdosing,
right,
is different than having those kind of journeys, right? One's very deep,
yeah,
long, and that, like it happens within a day or two. The other one's, microdosing throughout the days, right? Have you ever had a journey?
Yeah, I have. So just to just to kind of clarify this tangent that I'm on right now about the psilocybin stuff, we're going to go back into a complete loop, and I guarantee you it's going to make sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So essentially, this journey, so I haven't had a journey, right? A journey is like 10 grams or more, right? Or like a 5 to 10 grams.
10 grams?
Right. And you do it with a shaman, right? Like, which is like a licensed therapist.
Yeah.
They know this stuff. It's not like some fuckboy with shaman.com certificate, okay? In LA, because they have those too. They're like,
sure they do.
This guy with the club gear,
Right.
He's like, yeah, I'm a shaman. We've seen all this stuff, right? Anyways, so basically, I have never done that before, but I have. I've been on a trip for like 2 grams and stuff, and it's not for me. And other people, I'm an A-type, super A-type personality. I just can't let go. I feel trapped. I feel confined, and I can't wait to get out. And so for me, it doesn't work. I have to be, under like 250 milligrams, which is like 0.2, 5, a quarter gram, which is really, really low. Microdose, depending on the strain. Anyway, so the microdosing stuff really helped a lot. And then I'll tell you the key about this is being present, right? We as a society have a huge problem today. We cannot be present. We don't know how to be present.
No.
And so
babies are being raised with TikTok, and they're like, that's the way to distract you.
Right. So when you're with people and they're present, you feel they're sincere, So psilocybin helped me become present again. It taught me how to be present permanently. So I don't know, as we start to hang out more, you'll start noticing that I'm probably one of the most present people you'll know as well, in addition to being coachable, right?
Right.
And also
math.
Yeah. Do math.
Sorry.
On the fly.
We got this.
Yeah. So essentially that made a huge difference. Understanding how to be present, teaching myself how to be present again, and it just stops time. Psilocybin really. So you become super present. And something really interesting happened. It was, I had the worst memory ever. I could never remember anything. And something interesting happened. I have the best memory of anyone I know. I remember every single word everyone says all the time, which is crazy. And so I thought that, hey, you know what? Oh, there's psilocybin's working really well in your brain, and it's doing something, right? And then I realized later on it's not. It's just taught me how to be present. I was never present. So I was never listening to people.
So you don't think it was opening up new neural pathways or anything?
It is.
In a way.
But I think that the bigger part of it was that, hey, it taught me how to really be present, And so that was a really important thing. So I was, now I'm present, and so I remember everything everyone says because I'm actually listening to them, which is a huge thing.
Yeah.
So this helped me so much. And now kind of going back to where, understanding, all the stuff that defined me, this helped me really, really realize what was important to me because I was super present all the time. And then I learned, and I was trained by a guru, and I was trained for TM, transcendental meditation, and that helped me so much, and I feel like that, if I didn't have that in my life last year, I don't know where I'd be right now, because last year was a really challenging year. I had a home invasion. I was almost killed.
What?
Yeah, it was really crazy, man. It was really wild. There's videos floating around all over the internet. It was crazy. I chased the guy down the street with a gun. It was wild,
What?
It was crazy. Yeah.
Holy shit. Wait, what?
Yeah, it was pretty insane. So, but yeah, so all that stuff happened, and
Put that up on the screen?
Yeah. It's so much sort of highlight in my stories. And
really? I'm gonna go watch.
You gotta see it. It's pretty crazy. So the whole thing's like everything's on camera in the neighbor's house and everything. It was wild. So that happened. A bunch of the things. Relationship, 5-year relationship ended. My dog died. My cat died. Like all kinds of crazy stuff. Really insane.
Yeah.
And I felt like the meditation it really served its purpose and it was really fantastic. So I meditate twice a day, targets 20 minutes each time. You're chanting a mantra that the TM coach assigns you. It's in Sanskrit and it's unique to you. And I was trained by Denny, and he's in Santa Monica, and he's been training for 47 years, as long as I've been alive. 47 years he's been training TM, and he was trained by the guru who invented TM by on his himself, and he's been training all around the world, like it's pretty crazy. So
okay, let me ask you this then, right? You're familiar with obviously like Wim Hof, right?
Absolutely.
And his breathing techniques. Sure. One of the things he quotes over and over and over, he says, get high on your own supply, right? And that's a big thing about meditation, or at least for breathing, because psilocybin or mushrooms or whatever, actually any drug doesn't give something that's not like already there. It just releases in your brain what's already there, just releases a little bit more of it, right?
Right.
So the chemical that's released when you take mushrooms is already in your brain. But what people have found, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is that people have found that they can have the same sort of focus, release, and almost opening of the mind through meditation as they can through, taking the mushrooms.
Absolutely.
Is that correct?
It is. And there's a level of enlightenment, right? So I've heard of people reaching that level where, they feel psychedelic effects from, super deep meditations. And some of these people are meditating all day, it's pretty insane. So for me, like generally my longer side of meditation, the longer side of meditation for me is like an hour and 15 minutes, and that's like, it's not intentional. I intend it to be 20 minutes and then I'm just so deep and gone. I have no idea where I am, what time it is or anything. And it's like an hour and 15 minutes later or whatever it is. And this happens a lot, right? And so, and that level of rest, it's non-sleep rest. It is so important for your brain. It's deeper rest for your brain than you can get from any kind of sleep.
Really?
Yeah. So it's pretty insane.
Are they like REM cycles, anything like that?
Absolutely. Much deeper. So it's really important. I haven't achieved that level yet of where, you feel psychedelic effects. But yeah, I've heard of that, of people, achieving that. It's pretty interesting.
Do you pair the two together? So like, you don't?
No, absolutely not.
That's interesting. Why not?
Because I feel like they're two different, they're totally two different areas. And when you're meditating, you want to be completely, you want your mind to be completely like
clear.
But the way the TM works is you can have random stray thoughts and just get them out. It's fine. You push them out. This type of meditation is really great. There's no rules,
Yeah.
You just like, if it's loud, it needs to come out, these thoughts, right? So the thing about mushrooms though, I think is, I've never tried it with meditating. I've just felt like it's like two different things. I don't want to keep them separate, but I'm sure people have done it. And because the kind of meditation I practice is very specific. It's TM. A lot of people practice all kinds of meditation that they've learned at home on their own and stuff like that. But this one's like, you're chanting a Sanskrit mantra, which is like, it's pretty, it's like the sounds are triggering stuff, So it's kind of sensitive, from that perspective.
So obviously your friend who introduced you, to this has done some incredible things. He attributes a lot of his success to this new energy, or like way of being, mentality, or, like medicine. What do you want? He attributes a lot of that to this. Would you say the same thing? Would you venture that far to say a lot of your success, or at least, who you've become today, you attribute to these things as well?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like this is what all this stuff has helped me really clear the plate of realizing who I am. It's like self-realization is the key. That's what gets in the way of everyone. People think they are somebody they're not. They want to be somebody that they can't be. Because their core beliefs are not are not consistent with that. So
I'm really glad you said that, actually, because something I recently actually just came across, or just fell at least, was if there was one thing I would say like is the greatest mission of our lives is to discover exactly who you are, right? To me, that is the number one most important thing about our entire lives, is to discover exactly who you are, right? So when you're talking about that, because that by discovering who you are, you're also discovering who you're not,
right?
And able to get rid of anything else that might interfere or intercede with who you can become at your highest form, right?
Right.
So it's fascinating. So you believe this has helped you not only discover more, like new, like, or be more present, but mostly, would you say, if this is an accurate statement, it has helped you discover more of who you are than anything else?
I feel like, yeah, absolutely, because it allows you to be, both of them, they're tools that allow you to be super present.
Yeah.
And I haven't found any other way to be more present than meditation and,
Yeah.
and psilocybin. I feel like, there's a lot of people. I have a friend who owns a ketamine therapy company.
I have heard incredible things about that from actually people who they really do, like, they're, people like from the CIA or FBI who have to deal with some really dark stuff. They swear by ketamine therapy as something that helps them get out.
A friend of mine, he owns ketamine therapy company, and it's growing really fast. I do telehealth and stuff over the phone, and then they send you the stuff. It's like a lozenge, like a ketamine lozenge and stuff, and then it's supervised or whatever. And they're doing really well, and I haven't done one yet. I'm planning on doing it, but yeah, it's called Better You Health. They're actually based in West Hollywood, but they have like clinics all over the country and stuff, and so that's growing pretty fast. There's that, and then there's the they're doing MDMA therapy. It's very similar. There's like, California's pushing really hard to legalize psilocybin right now for therapy.
Psilocybin is not legal in California?
No.
Is it legal anywhere in the U.S.?
It is, yeah.
It is?
A couple parts of the country it is. And actually in San Francisco, it's legal. Yeah, so it's just kind of like at a county level now. No one cares, right? So there hasn't been any prosecution or no one going after anyone for psilocybin related stuff at all. It's just like, it's pretty much decriminalized.
It's getting there. It's just the red tape hasn't been cut yet.
Yeah, no one's being prosecuted for that stuff. So,
well, it's so interesting how we're talking about these plant medicines that are illegal.
Yeah.
And like, you could go through the whole battle that's been happening with CBD or, or THC or any of those things. I mean, these are literally fucking plants, right? That are illegal, So, but it's fascinating how the plants, used in some form or fashion, but there's no doubt that it's put here for a reason. It's definitely a tool.
Sure.
And for my experience, at least, it's been life-changing, So I'm really glad you're, not only talking about this to the audience, but also like, that's something you're pushing out more, right? With some of these new company, Enchanté. Is that because you say Enchanté, but when you say it's French, I think Enchanté.
Right. It's like cheers, like to your health.
Right? Okay. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. So I had this French guy, and I'd be around him all the time, and he's just it's so cool, his accent, and he would never say cheers, he'd just say Asante, it's like, oh my God, like I was around this guy all the time. So I'm like, I'm going to use that as a brand,
So next time you hold up a mushroom, you go, Asante.
I haven't tried to get him to try it yet, but yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Well, listen, man, you've brought some incredible stuff to the audience. I've learned a ton just listening to you. If there's, and I'm really excited to just kind of dive back deeper into what you've been saying here. But if there's one thing you'd want to leave our audience with, one last message, what would it be, brother?
Yeah, I would say, the thing that I started with, which was not only be careful, it's not a defensive thing, right? Like it's more of an offensive thing, right? It's like you're proactively doing this, but you just be mindful. Maybe that's a better word. Be mindful of who you're around.
Yeah.
Because you're going to become these people. So you should be excited to become these people. If you're not excited to become these people, you need to change people, right? And you're not being disloyal by not being around people that you've been friends with for a really long time. You're on a new path.
Yeah.
And your path is, it has to be consistent with the people that you're around, and the people you're around have to be on a similar path, So you can learn how to do anything that's already been done. You could replicate it. It's super easy. Just find a way to get access to these people and try to find value for them.
Yeah.
Generally, the value is connecting with other good people. That's how it is, So.
Dude, love it, man.
Yeah.
Love it. There's that rings true to me, especially these recent years, brother, man. I tell you, having the wrong people around you makes a hell of a difference, man.
Yeah.
As opposed to having the right people around.
Detonate your life.
Oh,
yeah.
We could go on for hours about that, right? Well, listen, man, I wish we could talk for more, like hours on end. I feel like this is such a deep conversation we could have. But, if the audience wanted to, find more about you, your new company and things you're doing, what's the best place for them to get a hold of you? Obviously, Instagram.
Yeah, you can put it on the screen, my Instagram, or you could send an email. It's my
we'll link all this down below. So Instagram, website, or what would be the best
email?
Okay.
Email.
All right, we'll make sure we get that information and link it down below for you guys. Everybody go follow this guy. We'll link it down below. But seriously, Ted, thank you so much for taking the time to come on.
Thanks so much.
Pleasure to have you, bro.
Pleasure.